What's up everyone, it's Caddy with Money Investing. In this video, wanted to talk a little bit about the semiconductor sector and the stocks within this sector because they have, to be honest, been performing really well. They have outperformed the market. And I wanted to go over the valuations and what I'm actually seeing with respect to technicals within this sector as well. So hope you guys enjoy it, find it helpful. Make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, the link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below as well. And I did post the trade ideas video for all the members to watch. So 4 new trade ideas. Links are going to be down below if you're interested in joining, and of course getting access to all the member benefits, including private videos as well. So this right here is going to be the performance of some of the top companies in the semiconductor sector that are part of the SMH, right? That's the semiconductor ETF that's very popular, SMH, and we are going to be analyzing that as well. But if you take a look at year-to-date changes for some of these companies, of course, at the top of the list, we've got NVIDIA up almost 90%. We've got Advanced Micro Devices up 47%, Intel up 23%, ASML, another really interesting and successful company in the Netherlands, up over 21%, Applied Materials up 19%, TSMC's up 19.5%, and Qualcomm's up a little bit over 13%. So this list is not meant to be exhaustive, but instead one of the top holdings or some of the top holdings for this ETF, which is going to be the SMH, right? So semiconductors ETF. And I'm going to be going over some valuations for the price earnings and everything over here, but they have all outperformed the S&P 500, which is up a little bit over 7% year to date. So this is going to be the SMH. I wanted to bring it back a little bit and show you exactly where we are with respect to the technicals and why it's now starting to become a little bit more interesting how we trade. And I do personally believe that there is going to be a bit of a pullback happening very soon, considering where we are with respect to the technicals. So this right here is the entire analysis, right? Very simple. And you can see that since the great financial crisis, since 07, 08, since the sell-off back then, when it was trading at roughly around $11, SMH is up a little bit over 2,100%. Not questioning that, right? Very strong growth here. Lots of momentum to the upside for its top holdings. So you can see it move up in a nice uptrend, higher highs and higher lows. But this is exactly the uptrend, right? So you can see the higher highs getting tapped out every time it gets up to that level. It's been rejected. So that happened back in 2010. It happened back in 2011. It happened back in 2018. Happened once again briefly in 2020. And this right here is at the bottom. That's the support, right? That's the uptrending channel. And the green line is the higher low or that support for this particular ETF. And it's been trading within this range for quite some time. Before the pandemic hit, it was getting sold off. A lot of QE, a lot of quantitative easing happened. And then from those lows, it pretty much ended up rallying over 232%. You can kind of see that it had a bit of a hiccup here, right, at this price point. So you can see a double red candle here, doji candle. So lots of indecision between the bulls and the bears, right? So it was kind of struggling. And then immediately lots of buyers stepped in, and 19% in November of 2020, and pushed up and continued to drift higher and higher and making new all-time highs at $314 per share. So you can kind of look at this area as being incredibly overvalued, right? So anything that's kind of outside of our uptrend here is considered, or would be considered, at least in my opinion, as significantly overvalued. You see this dashed line in blue over here. So that's the line in between that uptrend. I would consider that to be like the fair value or the intrinsic value from a more technical perspective for this particular ETF, or that's, for the matter of pretty much anything that you're analyzing on a more technical basis. What usually ends up happening is that you've got, whatever it is, a stock or an ETF, it's going up, it's going down, it's going up, it's going down, it's going up, it's going down. And this right here is an imaginary line, which is a linear growth here, and that's more of a fair value, right? So stock or ETF ends up being overvalued here, undervalued here, overvalued here, undervalued here. Very rarely would you see a stock pretty much trade at its fair value and consistently go up in a linear way. Most of the time, it kind of ebbs and flows and becomes overvalued and undervalued as it moves. So in this example, you'll notice that SMH was obviously a little bit on the overvalued side. And then once we started to sell off, we once again shot a bit to the downside. So we overshot all the way down to as low as 161. So SMH at one point was down over 48%, so almost got cut in half. And now, since those levels, we have seen a very nice rally back up. So we've seen from 162 back up to almost around $270, right? So today it's trading at a little bit over $257. It's up over 65%. Thanks to NVIDIA, thanks to AMD, thanks to all the stocks that I just went over earlier in the video. But now, as you can see, that we are approaching a double resistance. You can see that we are approaching this level right here, which I go over on the weekly chart. You can see that we have gotten rejected at this level for SMH in the past. So once over here, this right here, a couple times, resistance for this particular ETF. So we are approaching at that level at 273, all the way up to as much as $312. But this is going to be a very, very important and a critical area of resistance for SMH, which is also one of the reasons why I do believe that there is going to be some potential downside for semi stocks in the future, considering how technically overbought we're now starting to get. RSI is slowly and steadily approaching up to that level of over 70. So you can see the last time we were there was back in November of 21. And SMH, of course, ended up dropping a little bit over 48%. Not expecting anything close to 45%. But the closer we get to 270s, or at least inside this red rectangle, we're going to be now tapping on to that higher low. That's the ascending uptrending line. That's going to be inside this red rectangle, as well as the next resistance to all-time highs at 315. So anything inside this red rectangle is going to create that opportunity, an asymmetric trade idea on the more short side for tech stocks, for specifically semiconductor stocks that, of course, fall under technology. And of course, RSI and MACD also a bit on the overbought side on the weekly time frame. Daily time frame, not so much, but weekly time frame we certainly are. And on the monthly time frame, I'm just going to take a quick look on the RSI and the MACD. Looks like we are now starting to push right back up. So that's a bit of a lag there. So RSI was obviously way too overextended back in November, even on the monthly candle. And monthly chart does suggest there's more upside, which is why I do think that there is possibility for us to get up to 273 to as much as $315. So those are going to be the key levels to really watch for SMH. And then if we cover some of the more individual stocks here, NVIDIA is getting up to its previous resistance from, I believe, back in 2022. You can see that we have previously gone rejected exactly at this level at 292. So this is a pretty strong resistance to watch for NVIDIA. And of course, not to mention incredibly overbought on the RSI and the MACD. So getting up to that resistance level. Advanced Micro Devices is in a very similar situation. So AMD also getting up to that resistance at close to $102, $103. It has been trading inside this uptrending channel of higher highs and higher lows, but it hasn't really come down to retest its higher lows at $80, right? So we're still kind of overdue on that pullback on AMD down to $80 at that support. Intel more recently has rallied as well, so it is a bit on the overbought side. Talking a more technical basis here, so it has definitely rallied quite a bit from lows of $24, $25 all the way up to over $32, $33. So you can see the RSI and the MACD. Once again, a little bit on the overbought side, getting up to that resistance of $34. I believe Qualcomm is the only one on the list that is not exactly overbought, but instead is just trading sideways and indeed even at a support down to as low as $120 a share. So there is potential for Qualcomm to get up to as much as $139, $140 to kind of retrace back up to that higher high. As you can see that it's trading inside this uptrending channel. The bottom line is that SMH has definitely had a very strong run up to its highs. You know, it can even get up to its next resistance at 273, even up to as much as $300, closer to its next all-time high. But eventually this sector is going to provide us with a very strong opportunity to short, considering how much the technicals are overbought. And we are approaching that critical area of resistance between this red rectangle. So this is going to be the one to watch. The bottom line is that this right here is the area to watch, because previously also we've gone rejected and we were kind of consolidating sideways at that level. Now coming over to the valuations, so you can see that price to earnings ratio, right now it says 20 on a more aggregate basis, but a lot of individual stocks, such as NVIDIA, some of the ones that I've been over, NVIDIA, for example, is trading at 70 to 80 times earnings, not to mention 25 times sales. Advanced Micro Devices trading at, well over 30 to 40 times earnings, I think over 7 to 8 times sales. ASML is a little bit overvalued as well, considering the valuations. TSMC is kind of decent. I would say that Intel, AMAT, which is Applied Materials, and Qualcomm on this list kind of makes sense at the valuation that they're currently at. But NVIDIA, which obviously makes up majority of the weighting of these semi stocks, including AMD and ASML, are definitely not the ones that are considered undervalued right now. They're definitely the ones that are a little bit on the more overbought side, and not to mention the valuation is a bit overextended. So we'll definitely be paying attention to 273 to as much as $280, $290 per share as a potential resistance on SMH, and then we'll continue to monitor the weekly RSI and the MACD as well for potential short trading ideas on the downside for semi stocks as we approach this higher high inside this uptrend. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about semiconductors right now? What are your thoughts on SMH? I would love to know. So comment down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Link to our Discord and Patreon down below. As always, happy investing, and I'll see you all in the next video.